There comes a time in every hunter's life where they receive a mag, and, well, we're going to look at that process a little bit closer. Today, in PSO Lore, we will be returning to the forest to step outside of the government quests for a moment, and, in so doing, undertaking one of the single-player story quests. While we're at it, we'll step outside for a moment and discuss those little somethings we all know and love a little bit deeper. Welcome to the Abyss, folks. My name is Void Money, and today we learn about mags. Before we really discuss mags in depth, though, let's cover the story quest, which introduces us to the basics of mags. From the Pioneer 2, go to the Hunters Guild desk and speak to the secretary. She looks kind of like a flight attendant from the 70s, but if you speak to her, you'll get a whole list of quest types to choose from. This time, we'll select Side Story. Starting fresh, we see 3 quests available. We'll be choosing Magnitude of Metal. The quest description reads, "A valuable commodity on Ragol was lost." Select the quest for more information. The client is Garen the Trader. The reward is 500 Meseta, and the detailed description reads, "Retrieve items that were stolen on a trip back from Ragol." Pretty self-explanatory. Select the quest to be yeeted into dialogue with Garen.
Are you the hunter from the guild? I'm Garen, a trader. I want you to go down to Ragol and retrieve my lost items. It's really important. A business opportunity, the likes of which no one has seen before. I'm sure I'll become a zillionaire when I get it all back. That useless ranger said that an android took them. Find that android and get my items, understand? If you need any more info, ask that stupid, incompetent ranger.
Don't you love how the guy who had his stuff stolen won't tell you any details about the theft, other than that it was an android on Ragol? I mean, I can gather from the quest description, but still, why not just tell us that they were mags that got stolen, rather than just unspecified items? What if we brought back a couple antidotes and called it a day? You did say items after all. Thanks for that reward money. Anyway, moving on, you will find the ranger just outside of the Hunters Guild. Speak to him to learn the specifics of the quest.
Garen's commodity? They're just mags. Garen happened to find out that mags could be found on the ground. He asked me to collect some for him. I accepted it for the Meseta. I collected enough mags on Ragol to make everyone happy, but then I thought about the mags and the hunters who used them before. Mags are just protectors invented by a scientist, but we're given one when we become hunters. It's kinda tradition. Mags are an essential piece of equipment for hunters, right? When I was thinking of this, an android appeared and it was right though. Garen shouldn't use them to get Meseta.
So as it turns out, our so-called incompetent ranger isn't really all that incompetent, so much as he is sympathetic for the plight of the little lost mag. Now, if you've gotten this far, you may wonder where mags ever came from. Before the events of Phantasy Star Online Episode 1, the inhabitants of the Pioneer 1 and Pioneer 2 lived on Coral. You can get a breakdown about this on my Pioneer Project video as well, which I highly recommend if you find this stuff interesting. In any case, the people of Coral were researching a substance called photons when a meteor crashed into Coral, delivering a more advanced variety of photons that jumped their research forward a few levels. Similarly to real-world photons, the photons of the PSO universe are particles of light. Those are where the similarities end, however, because photons are also the source of magical energy, except this is science fiction, so instead of magic, it's called science. That's all you need to know about photons, really, other than that the photons discovered in the meteor were more powerful than your garden variety photons. You might be wondering what they used these powerful photons for next. And if you asked, I wonder if they used them to create mags, you'd be totally on the right track. Now, if you watched my Pioneer Project video, which again, you should watch, you'd know that the Pioneer Project aimed at finding a habitable planet to settle on. What you might not have learned from that video is that they traced the meteor carrying the advanced photons all the way back to Ragol. So naturally, needing to both escape the destitute struggle of war and chaos on Coral, and also wanting highly advanced photons, they sent the 2 Pioneer generation ships to achieve both goals. Which conveniently brings us full circle to this silly little side job commissioned by Garen. So, we head on down to Raggle in order to recover Garen's little floating photon robots. After a short amount of time running the gauntlet of Forest 1, you'll see a player icon on the minimap other than yours. Before long, you'll make your way around to this cast ranger who looks sort of like a maid with a giant rifle. Speak to her to progress the story.
Well, one's still missing. Huh? I was surprised. Excuse me, but have you seen a mag around here?
I'm looking for it.
What, you came here to retrieve mags? No, I didn't mean to take them from the ranger, but they all looked so sad, so I just started talking to them. And they looked very happy. I just wanted to say hello, but they all wanted to come with me, and they chased after me. Then everyone returned to their master's place. They aren't here now. Only one mag was saying that it would come with me, but it disappeared. Sorry about that. Are you going to look for it? Let me join you. Maybe it didn't stray too far from me. By the way, I'm Eleanor Camuel. I'm an android.
Well, hello there. I'm Void, Voidmon3Y. I'm also an android. At this point, you can run around and explore for a bit with Eleanor. You'll make it about 10 feet before she wants to talk again. Don't worry, it's super important.
Are you mad because I let the mags run away?
I don't get mad, I get glad.
I'm sorry, but please listen. I don't know if you're aware of this, but mags are intelligent. When a hunter equips a mag, it recognizes him or her as its master. Some mags are clever. They can protect or heal their masters. Moreover, some can do a lot of photon damage. Doc told me, but I forgot. Anyway, mags will try to help you if you're nice to them. Mags feel very sad when they lose their masters.
Well, how about that? Okay, moving on. You'll come to an area with some enemies, and after dispatching them all and trying to leave, Eleanor will speak to you yet again.
Excuse me, I don't know if I should tell you this, but Voidmon3Y, your mag is hungry. It's true. It's alive. It needs something to eat, and it's best to give a mag its favorite item. Each mag has its own characteristics and its own favorite items. Some like monomate, others like dimate.
Really? Do some even like trimate?
To feed your mag.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. This is not a tutorial video. It's a lore video. So if we mosey on our way, and maybe feed our mag. Anyway, if we mosey on our way, Eleanor will speak to us yet again before we get anywhere important.
Voidmon3Y, your mag is very cute. It likes you a lot, Voidmon3Y. Huh? How can I communicate with mags?
Well, I wasn't wondering that, but sure.
I'm so sorry, I just don't know.
I'm glad we cleared that up. Now, if we walk past these escape pods or whatever, Eleanor will speak to us one more time.
Oh, I just remembered. When mags get damaged, they charge energy to endure the pain. The charged energy can be converted to a photon blast, but I'm not sure. When the energy is fully charged, your mag tells you to use the power.
This is actually a good point to segue into our next side segment on mag lore. Did you know that because there are lots of photons on Raggle, the photon blast is way stronger than it is on Coral? That's right, on Coral, mags just shoot little bolts of energy, but on Raggle, they straight up summon mysterious creatures. Now imagine that. The more you know. Anyway, as you make your way through Forest 1, you may wonder, gee, what's back at the beginning? And if you follow that intuition, you might see a little glowing thing on the ground next to the telepad back to Pioneer 2. Try to approach it, and you will be interrupted by Eleanor yet again.
Hey, there it is. There, over there. Can you see it?
I mean, it's pretty hard to miss. Pick it up for some flavor text. Got a missing mag.
Hi again. I see. It visited its ex-master to say bye-bye. Now it's done. It says that it wants to have a new master. See, mags prefer a master that loves them. Voidmon3Y, please take care of your mag. Even if you can't hear its voice, know that it understands you.
Eleanor will then leave the party, leaving us to return to Pioneer 2 on our own. But of course, we have to speak to her again first, right? Just because we haven't gotten our fill.
Mags are good partners to hunters. I know my mag. I can feel my mag because I'm very close to it.
How touching. But back to Pioneer 2. Now that we've returned, you'll probably want to catch up with that ranger from earlier. Talk to him to give him the deets on what went down on the surface.
I'm happy to hear that. The Megs will be much happier going back to their masters.
Well, that's that then. This is kind of a breath of fresh air compared to those government quests we've been running, which, by the way, if you're new here, you should definitely watch those too. We've currently finished all the way up to the final cave's government quest, and by the time you've watched this video, who knows how far we've made it. We might even be on the ruins. Anyway, head back to our boy Garen to finish things up.
What? This is the only one? The other Megs returned to their masters. Their masters were already dead. Anyway, you can get your Meseta at the guild. Your job is finished.
Sorry about that. The dog was shaking for no reason, and she's just so darn cute I decided to leave that in. So as promised, hand the quest over to the Hunters Guild to retrieve your reward of 500 Meseta. And with that, we've answered some questions about mags and finished a quest at the same time. And that's all I have for you today, folks. If you made it this far and aren't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Also, watch those videos I mentioned earlier. They're popping up on stream right now for you to watch at your own leisure. Until next time, have fun and stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!